Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you so much for joining tonight. Inshallah, this is American Muslim Healthcare Professionals presentation regarding healthcare settings and ICE and their current activities. My name is Shamila Malik. I have the pleasure of welcoming you tonight. I am currently the Texas chapter president, and we are very honored to have a very knowledgeable and gracious set of speakers tonight who are going to be informing us and helping us get prepared so that, God forbid, if any of these moments come upon us, we're not in a panic. I'd like to start with Surah Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim. Waladhdallin. Ameen.
Me.
I have the pleasure of introducing our first speaker, who is going to be Brother Mustafa Carroll. He began his civil rights advocacy at the age of 14 and became the NAACP Youth Council president in his hometown of Gary, Indiana. Woot woot for the Midwest, because we're both from there. Shortly before his 16th birthday, he currently serves as the executive director of the DFW Office of the Council of American Islamic Relations, also known as CARE, and the former executive director of CARE Houston. CARE is the United States' largest Muslim grassroots civil rights and advocacy group with over 30 offices nationwide. CARE's mission is to enhance understanding of Islam, protect civil rights, promote justice, and empower American Muslims. So welcome, Brother Mustafa Carroll. We also have Brother Noman Azur. He is an attorney here in Dallas, Texas. He has been practicing immigration and nationality law in the DFW Metroplex for more than 19 years. His law firm handles employment-based immigration cases, as well as family sponsorships and U.S. citizenship. He regularly advises companies on properly following immigration and Department of Labor guidelines. Noman has been recognized by the Texas Super Lawyers magazine multiple times and recently served as the co-chair for the immigration law section of the Dallas Bar Association. We are also honored tonight to have Brother Faraz Siddiqui, who will also be our moderator for the evening. Faraz is a healthcare lawyer at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. He has worked at the intersection of health and law for the past 2 decades. He has previously written on healthcare standards in ICE detention centers.
To do it, we'll start. Inshallah, we will start with Brother Mustafa, who will speak a little bit about the your rights that are given to you by the U.S. Constitution and U.S. law. And those rights apply to all people living in the United States, regardless of immigration status. After that, Brother Noman will give some tips on how to proactively prepare if ICE shows up at your healthcare institution or workplace. We know that the Trump administration does not let the Constitution define him or the laws restrict him. So it's a new world. Trump 2.0 is a new world, and we want to, as the title of this panel says, we want to make sure that everyone is prepared instead of panicking. So there are some tips and guidelines that Brother Noman will share with us. I will, as I said, we'll do a Q&A at the end. Please feel free to write your questions that you may have throughout the panel discussion. Please do that in the chat feature. I will not address them during the presentations, but at the end, inshallah, we will then go through them at the end. Inshallah, we'll have some time. I just want to make one disclaimer. I forgot to make this disclaimer. My views are my own and do not necessarily reflect those of my employer. Okay, inshallah, let's begin. Brother Mustafa.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm so thankful and happy to be here. I like to say I wish we could meet under better circumstances, but we're here and these are things that we have to deal with. My presentation basically is going to about know your rights when interacting with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, better known as ICE. And our goals is to provide a basic understanding of your rights, to focus on the ability to respond effectively, and maybe we'll offer a few preventative measures for visa and green card holders. So your rights are actually protected in the Constitution, legally protected in the Constitution. The 64 Civil Rights Act is also a place, and the Bill of Rights is, again, another place where your rights are protected and all the different changes that have gone on before that. Some of the executive actions and orders that threaten it is that the president filed the Alien Enemies Act, which hadn't been enacted since John Adams was president, which was John Adams was what, the second president, and allows arrest for due process based on nationality. Birthright citizenship seeks to deny citizenship to children of undocumented immigrants. Asylum ends asylum in most legal immigration pathways. And then there's an entry ban. So I think he's blocked or is going to block some 70 odd countries coming up from entering the U.S. And aside from that, he's also taken away DACA. So those persons who were protected under DACA was for children of immigrants or those persons who are undocumented that could come here as children. We Now you may encounter ICE anywhere. I mean, this is what we've seen recently is that you could be at the gas station, you could be at work, you could be at home, you could even be walking down the street. They're unhinged to some degree. I mean, it's no ways that they won't approach you. So you could encounter them anywhere, but if they knock at your door, simply don't open the door. They can't enter your home without your permission or a warrant signed by a judge. Technically, they have no right to come in your home without due process. And the warrant must be signed by a judge. How do you see the warrant? Tell them to slip it under the door or something. We're telling people to do that because they're not acting in the ways that most law enforcement acts. Um, the other thing is you have a Fifth Amendment protection against self-incrimination. Of course, you're not incriminating yourself now, but you may be uh, wanting to discuss your immigration status. You don't have to do that. Um, uh-oh, let me see something. Oh, all right. I didn't know we had that. Okay, if uh, so if they do come to your door, you don't have to open the door. But what if they come to your workplace? Same thing. Next, brother for us. Okay, don't run away for sure. You know, sometimes law enforcement and even in court, they think that if you run, you must be guilty of something. Don't give ICE agents permission to enter your workplace if you have the ability to do that. If you're the supervisor or the director or the owner, you don't have to give them permission to enter your workplace, and you don't have to answer questions or any information that they ask. You have a right to remain silent. Next. As I said before, you have Fifth Amendment protection against self-incrimination. You have the right to remain silent. I tell people this all the time to remain silent. It's really easy to say in a workshop like this, but when we start talking about doing it in reality, sometimes people panic or they get afraid, and so they go ahead and do things that they think will lessen their issues. Be careful what you say. If you do decide to say something, be careful what you say because it can be held against you in any kind of case, in immigration, criminal, or civil case. You don't have to answer any questions about your status, and definitely if do not lie about your status. If you do, you can do hard time, federal time, in prison for 5 or 6 years if you lie to a federal officer. And, that's why we tell people to remain silent because you put yourself in a precarious situation. All right, next. Okay. Now, ICE can lie to you. You just can't lie to them. And they will come to you with a lot of different reasons why, oh, we just, doing an investigation. It's all a ruse, a criminal investigation. We are investigating identity theft, etc. Don't fall for it. Don't believe it. I hate to say that, but our government officials, our law enforcement agencies have been known to lie. And we've been dealing with this with a lot of cases, even with CARE. Over the years, I've noticed that people, I tell them don't lie, they go ahead and lie, or they misspeak. Sometimes it's not even a lie. That's why we tell you to remain silent. And of course, you should have an attorney present whenever you're going to meet with these guys, because the attorney will protect you. They'll tell you not what not to say and what to say. So you have to be very, very careful because if they can extrapolate from your conversation that you lied to them, then you will go to prison and you won't get a parole. It'll be 5 or 6 years, tough time. Next. And these are just more of the rules, this lost ID rules. We found a lost ID. You're a suspect rules. If you were a suspect, it would be more than just coming to you to talk. All right, so that's not it. Okay. Um, and so when I shows you an administrative warrant with an employee's name on it, you don't have to say if that employee is working that day or not. If you, and this is if you're a supervisor, manager, etc., you don't have to take ICE agents to the employee named on the warrant, even if he or she is at work at the time. Again, silence is golden. So you don't have to say anything. And I know they're not gonna let it be that simple. They're gonna try to press you, oh, you're not in any trouble, don't worry, not no, it's not a big deal, blah, blah, blah. But it's up to you to not fall for that. And you don't have to. That is your right. Okay, next. Do not lie about your citizenship status or provide fake documents. Whoa, there's a big no-no there. Don't if it's best not to say anything. Don't lie and don't provide any fake documents. I don't think we got that issue. Next. All right. Now, a search warrant versus arrest warrant. There's different kind of warrants. If you get a search warrant is also a warrant that's signed by attorney, Brother Faraz. A search warrant is also one of those warrants that's signed by a judge. This is an example of an ICE warrant. But any warrant you get will be signed by a judge. And so, you know, you cannot don't let anyone in your place if they don't have that warrant signed, and it should be specific about what they want, who they're looking for, etc. Next. A criminal court warrant, same thing, signed by a judge for you to come to court. And if you don't come to court, you'll get arrested. Even I always suggest to people that they should go to court even if they have an attorney. I know a lot of people will send their attorney to the court. Most attorneys will do their job, but I've known people that sent their attorney or the attorney was supposed to go, and for some reason the attorney didn't show up or couldn't show up, and then there's another warrant, an arrest warrant put out for the individual who didn't show up. So I suggested people attend their court when they get a court order to come to court that they should go. Next. Criminal arrest warrant. And this is an example one. It's signed by a judge, tells you who it is, etc. If you are contacted and they give you a criminal arrest warrant, it's a warrant for your arrest. You cannot argue, fight, anything. You have to go with them. Even if you don't think the warrant is right, you have to do it. Don't fight it. Don't resist. Put your hands behind your back. Let them handcuff you, and let's deal with it in court. That's the best way to do this. Do not struggle. Don't even act like you want to struggle, because it won't do you any good. Once they come to arrest you, they're going to arrest you regardless. And so you want to make this the best possible situation that you can have. Next. And if an ICE agent asks for your immigration papers and you're not a U.S. citizen, you must show them if you have them with you. If you have them with you, you must show them. We're also telling people to make sure that you carry your papers. Make sure I was traveling and out of the country just last month, and anywhere I go, even now, I carry my my passport with me. Even here in Dallas, I'll have my passport with me. As a matter of practice, I've had all my family members who are all born and raised here to carry their passports and identification. All right, next. Again, do not resist arrest, even if you believe it's unfair. It will not do you any good, and in fact, it'll do harm. And based on what we've been seeing, it could even be worse. Okay, next. Okay, and that's it. Now I've spoken about the basic, just a short synopsis of your rights, but by no means is this the all in all. And so our brother Norman is going to speak more about the real world now.
All right. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Mustafa, for that. So I just have a couple slides I want to get through, and then I think we'll jump into the questions. The first slide is how to proactively prepare for an ICE visit. So what can you do in advance if ICE shows up to your place of business? So one good recommendation that you can kind of take is designating private areas around your business. So if you have a medical clinic or hospital and you own the parking lot in front of the medical clinic or hospital, put a private property sign on the parking lot. ICE can't enter private property without a warrant, something that brother Mustafa talked about, and I'll get into as well. So if you own the sidewalk, if you have designated offices, meeting spaces, the parking lot, put private property there, because that will serve as kind of a buffer zone that ICE can know they can't cross those areas even before they enter your building. Second thing you can do, it's a good idea to designate a trained representative, someone from your company who will be the designated point of contact if ICE shows up. So find somebody from your company who you feel is confident, who knows the rights of the company, knows the rights of the individuals working in the company, somebody who's trained, and that person can be the point of contact if ICE shows up so that they can request the identities of the ICE officers, they can ask for their credentials, and they can communicate directly with them. Because you don't want a situation where 5 or 10 ICE officers show up to your company, everybody panics, and then you have 3 or 4 people talking to them, getting mixed information. It can create a lot of confusion. So it's better to designate one trained representative who can liaison directly with ICE. And speaking of liaisoning, one thing that I recommend all my clients do is reach out to your local police station and talk to your local city councilman. What we see a lot in social media now is a conflict between federal agencies and state and local law enforcement. So you have federal agencies like ICE coming in, and you have state and local law enforcement kind of standing up to ICE because they feel like they're overstepping their boundaries. So don't hesitate to reach out to your local police station, councilman, because if you are confronted with a situation where ICE shows up to your business and you've already made contact with your local police officers, you can call 911, they can come over, and they can try to help de-escalate the situation. So you don't have to feel that you have to handle it on your own. And so my office is in Allen. Allen's kind of a small city. There's a lot of small cities around DFW. If you talk to the local police officers, if you talk to the local councilmen in small cities, you'll find that they're very agreeable and very easy to work with, and they understand your concerns because that's their job to represent you as constituents. So I would encourage everybody to kind of liaison with them so you have a point of contact if ICE shows up. Number 4, request a judicial warrant. So this is something that Brother Mustafa talked about. So a judicial warrant is a warrant that's signed by a judge. That's different than an administrative warrant or a deportation order. And that's where there's a lot of confusion in the last week. So what ICE is saying now is that they have a right to enter a residence if they have a deportation order. Deportation orders are very common. When somebody goes through the immigration court process and they're ordered removed from the United States, there's a deportation order. Right now, that's legally insufficient to enter a private residence. Although ICE is claiming that, I'm sure the courts will rule in favor of the existing law. What ICE needs is a judicial warrant. So like Brother Mustafa talked about, ask them to slip it under the door, look at it, and that should be the trained representative that we talked about earlier. They should look at it, make sure it's signed by a judge. Below the signature, the judge's name should appear along with their title. It should be very specific. So it should include the address that they want to enter, and it should also specifically include what they're looking for. It's very different than kind of a general administrative warrant or a deportation order. So that's something that you want to be very careful about. So the question I'm getting a lot nowadays is, well, what happens if ICE enters anyway? They don't have a warrant and they come in. And what if they start asking questions and violating the rights of my employees? Well, what do I do in that situation? Unfortunately, there's not a lot you can do in that situation. So what we're recommending people do is document the interaction. So take detailed notes. How many agents came? Did they present a warrant? What actions were they taking? What questions did they ask? So that you can have a detailed kind of chronology of everything that happened and then relay it to your company's management and also concerned immigration support organizations like the ACLU. A lot of lawsuits are going to be filed and have started to be filed because of ICE overstepping their boundaries. So this is information and documentation that a lot of these organizations are trying to collect as they prepare class action lawsuits. So those are the things that you can proactively do in preparation for an ICE visit. So what do you do? And Faraz, I'm just moving on to my last slide. What do you do if ICE asks for your immigration status? Well, like Brother Mustafa talked about, you have rights. You can refuse to answer their questions. You can plead the fifth. But what we're advising our clients to do is be prudent in this kind of situation. You don't want to be in a situation where you get wrongfully arrested or assaulted or even worse. So we're recommending that our clients take photos of their immigration paperwork and have it on their phone. It's not really practical. I know Brother Mustafa talked about carrying his passport. A lot of people don't feel comfortable carrying their passport because they can lose it, and that can be a huge headache. So it's a good idea to take a photo of your immigration documentation because most people carry their phones all the time. So what does that look like? Well, if you're a U.S. citizen, take a photo of the biographical page of your U.S. passport. If you're naturalized, take a photo of your naturalization certificate. That's going to have your name, your alien number, your photo on it. A lot of people nowadays are applying for passport cards. Passport cards are like U.S. passports, but they're just small laminated cards that you can stick in your wallet. You can also take a photo of your U.S. birth certificate. The problem with birth certificates is that there's not a photo of you on the birth certificate, so you have to combine it with like an ID. So the other documents, if you have them, are more beneficial. What if you're a green card holder? Most green card holders carry their green card with them. If you've applied for a renewal of your green card, take a photo of your I-751 or I-90 receipt notice, which extends your green card for several years. What if you're an international student? Your I-20 is what governs your status as an international student. So make sure you have a copy of your I-20 on your phone, which has the current validity period. If you're on OPT, carry your EAD card with you, and also carry a photo of your F1 visa that you used to enter the US. What if you have a pending green card application? What if you're in the system right now, you're waiting for your priority date or you're waiting for USCIS to review your application? Carry a copy of your I-485 receipt notice. That's the initial green card application that was filed for you. So carry that, carry your EAD card if you receive it, and carry a copy, a photo of your biometrics appointment notice, because that shows that you've already completed fingerprinting, your background check has been run, and your case is in process. So those are the important immigration documents you should have a photo of on your phone at all time. You can also take a photo of these, or take a photocopy of these original documents and keep them with you if you feel like you want to be extra protected. I'm not recommending my clients to walk around with their original I-20s or their original US passports because you don't want to lose those things. So typically a photo is sufficient, or make a photocopy of it. But that's what I have now. So Faraz, I think we can open it up to questions.
Yeah. So yeah, we have a couple of questions coming in already. Everyone, please feel free to write out questions in the chat. I think we have 3 or 4 right now. Just to finish up, close up the conversation. Some of the more some of the ways that you can start implementing this, especially if you are in management at the management level of your clinic or your healthcare institution or your workplace is to start, or even if you're not, you can speak to people to tell them about what your worries are, and try and push your workplace to create a policy on what to do in case ICE shows up or any other law enforcement shows up. So, you know, there is a, especially if you are joining us from, as a manager of a, or if you own your own healthcare clinic. I put in a link that has some model SOPs, some model policies on how you can create this, create a policy for your own place. One of the things that I remember that was really helpful, I believe, is to create some sort of a notification system for your employees when law enforcement is present, so that everyone knows how to take care of their patients. I work at a hospital, and we have a policy that was disseminated to everyone. Most hospitals and trade groups that I know uh, have created policies, or have given out information on everyone's rights, whether you're a patient, whether you're an employee. There are a few exceptions are, around the country. The NYU Langone Health comes to mind, where they have, instead of giving information about our rights, they've actually gone out and told all the employees to let ICE do whatever they want. Don't stop, don't avoid, don't try and hide patients, don't try and avoid them. So, to the extent that you have some social capital, some credibility at your workplace, try and create these policies where the owners and management takes a position on this, and reminds everyone that the hospital or other workplace will keep will enforce their own rights. There are other policies also that you can start working on. For example, do you ask for status of your patients? Where you keep your staff records. Your reminder of your HIPAA obligations. And then finally, what I'll say is this is a part of what Noman and Mustafa, both of them, were saying about how you go ahead and get someone designated to be the main contact person. You also want to make sure that your security people, your frontline staff, people who work in public areas know what they should be doing, that they shouldn't be talking to ICE people, that they should be asking for credentials, and then move from your move from get the ICE agents to go to that designated person, or a backup if you have. So these are some ideas on how you go ahead and implement some of the work that we've been some of the tips that we've been talking about right now. Um, with that, I think we are ready to jump into question and answers. As I said, I'll just remind everyone, please paste your question and answers right over here. Let's start first with um, private areas, designated private areas. Noman, for hospitals, do you think treatment rooms and staff-only rooms constitute private areas that ICE cannot enter?
Yeah, I would assume they would be. Now, every hospital is going to be different. Every clinic is going to be different. So I think that you have to first find out from the property owner what is private and what is public. Like, for example, at our office, we own the parking lot in front of our office. So that's a private area. But most places, most parking lots are city owned. So you would have to find that out. So if you are in a hospital or clinic, if it's a small clinic and you own the clinic, I'm guessing that the patient rooms are going to be private areas. If it's a government hospital, it might be different. So that's something that could be hospital clinic specific that you would want to find out.
And perhaps it might be a good idea also, Noman, you talked about putting a sign on the parking lot that says private only. Perhaps revisiting all this signage that
Yep.
hospital staff might know. Uh, but that makes sense. Okay, so those sort of. What about like in a dental office, the patient waiting area? That most people think is private. This
Well,
person is asking. Mhm.
yeah, that's private. So that's a separate legal issue. Like when you have a public business, there's something called a business invitee law, which means that people are allowed to enter your business. But this is a different situation with ICE. Like if ICE is coming into like a your business and they're your doors and you have a lease agreement on that dental space, it's a space that you are occupying, right? You're occupying inside those doors. That's your lobby. So I would assume that you would be able to enforce that there and tell ICE that they can't enter your lobby if you either own that building or you have a lease agreement occupying that space.
Thank you. Going back to the questions on question of what do you want to carry? We heard Brother Mustafa carries his passport. Noman, you said that you've been talking about photocopies or pictures. Is there any? Have we heard of any cases where ICE damages original documents? So if you are carrying a green card, the original green card, is it safe to hand it to them, or should you always have a photocopy if you're giving it to them in person?
I don't have any personal stories about my clients telling me that ICE has damaged their documents. That's not to say that it could be happening or could not be happening. Um, Obviously, it should not be happening. So that's why I think it's a good idea if they ask for identification, you show them what's on your phone um, versus handing them an original document. I don't think that the concern in handing them an original document is that it's going to be damaged by them. I think more than likely, once they kind of recognize that you're a permanent resident or a U.S. citizen, they realize they're just going to be wasting their time, so they kind of move on. So I wouldn't use that as a reason not to hand them the original document.
Okay. Please keep the questions coming. We have a good amount of time that we can discuss some of these questions. So one of the questions that was raised by Leila Ramik, can state academic healthcare centers enforce the rules that bar ICE from their property? So, we are talking about healthcare institutions, but in this case, a state-owned academic healthcare center is owned by the state. So are they able to bar ICE? I can speak to that too, but no, Noman, what do you think about the private
I think
versus public areas?
I think again that that's going to be a specific issue that whoever's in charge of the state-owned academic, you said state-owned what? Hospital?
Academic medical center, yes.
State-owned academic medical center? Yeah, I think that would be something specific that their management would need to address on a federal level. Could they bar ICE? Um, that's a good question. I think they should be able to. But then again, like if ICE is showing up and it's not private owned, but I think that they would be able to tell ICE that they wouldn't be allowed to enter without a judicial warrant.
Okay, so the same sort of overview works in that situation. As we discussed, like there are those Brother Norman, you're talking about the public invitee laws. ICE may, like, you can't stop someone from coming in through the doors. They came in, they're at your reception, they're talking to you. Again, like if you set up private, it's a state institution. If you've set up a private space over there, that in your thoughts, would that be part of those sensitive areas that they're not allowed to walk into?
Yeah, I mean, the business invitee law is for customers. So when we get back to the example of a dental clinic having a lobby,
Mm-hmm.
technically, if you're an intending customer who wants to make an appointment for a root canal, you should be able to enter the lobby. That's not what ICE is
Mm-hmm.
trying to do. ICE is trying to come in and detain somebody. So when they enter the doors of a
Mm-hmm.
dental clinic, they're entering your dental clinic that you own or you have a lease agreement for with an intended purpose. So in that case, like a judicial warrant should be required from them. Um, that's different than the question that was recently posed about a state-owned academic
Mm-hmm.
hospital. But again, I think, yeah, setting up signs that say private property would create a buffer zone around the hospital. And then again, I think that management from that hospital uh, should probably make that decision whether or not they're going to let ICE in. But again, if ICE can't just come in on their own, even if it's a state-owned hospital, they would have to have a judicial warrant to enter the building.
Noman, when ICE agents come in, do they identify themselves as ICE agents on their on their jackets and the way they're dressed? Like police are much uniformed police are much clearer. What's your experience with especially that we see all these like masked vigilante sort of people?
Yeah, I mean, legally they're supposed to identify themselves, but what we
Hmm.
see a lot in social media is that they're not identifying themselves. I mean, I had a client at the immigration office, and it's very common. They're not identified.
Okay.
They're in plain clothes. Sometimes they have masks, sometimes they don't, and they are just coming up to people and trying to detain them. In my situation, I asked for identification, and the two
Hmm.
officers took out their badge and showed me. I asked for a warrant, and they actually pulled it up on their phone. They didn't have it printed because it had just been issued like 30 minutes earlier. So it really kind of depends. I mean, I think the question is, what are they supposed to be doing? Yeah, they're supposed to be identifying themselves. Um, and I think that's what I kind of talked about in that first slide, which is you want to have a trained person at your place of employment who feels confident discussing this with ICE, asking them for their credentials, asking them to identify themselves, asking them for a warrant. And ICE is supposed to present those things. That's what they're supposed to do.
Do you suggest that when you do realize that it's iced, should you take your phone out and start filming or um
I think that's kind of a case specific question. Um,
hmm
I think what I'm advising my clients to do is, as much as possible, try to de-escalate the situation because that's the
hmm
biggest issue I'm seeing right now, especially with what we see in social media. So once you start taking out your phone and recording them, it kind of escalates it and becomes confrontational. So I would assume that if you're in a situation where you have somebody talking to ICE, maybe other people are recording. But I don't think that should be your first course of action is to start recording unless you feel like they're going to overstep their boundaries. I think the first course of action would be to try to address what they want, de-escalate the situation, so that everybody can go about their business.
um okay, let's look through. We have a few more questions over here. um what do you what do the two of you think from people who have come to you, Noman, or folks who have asked care for help, Brother Mustafa, in terms of yeah, balancing like de-escalation versus taking versus enforcing your own rights. Do you suggest a clinic to lock its doors to prevent ICE from entering?
Well,
We. Mhm.
I don't know if that's a rational given what the clinic does. I'm even surprised that we're having to have this conversation because most clinics, hospitals, places like that are pretty much semi-private. Once you go in, people are not allowed in the rooms. If you're in a hospital there, you might be in a room that's quarantined or something. And even not everyone is allowed to go into a patient's room if that's what we're talking about. You're talking about being in the clinic in the vestibule, or the waiting area, that type of thing. I don't know if you can lock your doors to stop them from coming in. You can lock it. You can always do anything, but I'm not sure of the legitimacy of it, or if it'll be a trigger that they'll know right away there must be something going on, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know that that's a good idea or not.
I
What do
mean,
you know?
I think maybe
Yeah,
the most prudent course of action is to have a sign in the lobby that says private property, if it's private property.
yeah.
So if ICE comes in, you have the trained individual from your clinic saying, I'm sorry, this is private property. Can you guys please step out? And then present your warrant, slide it under the door. And then once
Mm-hmm.
you verified it, you guys can come in and conduct whatever business you need to.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to take a step back, like from some of these questions. I'm thinking we may be thinking about the Know Your Rights work that CARE and others have done on how to stop ICE from coming to you at your residence, where you do have, you can close the door, you can you can refuse to even answer the door. Yeah, within a workplace that's running, you're busy, especially healthcare professionals are busy taking care of patients and doing a hundred other things. Someone, as Brother Noman suggested, probably not probably not identifying themselves as ICE, has already come to your front desk and says, usually what they do is they would ask whether an employee or patient, maybe they'll give you a name of a patient or employee and say, is this person over here? Or is this person working today? I think Brother Mustafa, you were saying that, right? And that's where these implementing these strategies that Brother Noman and Brother Mustafa were talking about should start playing don't answer, ask for credentials. So, locking the door is probably not the way that you will even encounter them, I imagine.
Well,
Mhm.
I I think Sister Shamila had her hand up. I'm not sure.
Yes,
Uh,
This
yes,
is
please,
what I
Shamila.
was coming back to, that a couple people had put in there, and if they come with a question regarding a specific individual. And then I've also heard stories where they present a warrant, but it's not signed, or it's not signed by a judge. So, like, what do you do in that situation?
So
And again,
I
someone also said if someone was breaking down the door, because we've also seen them doing that. Like, what do we do as employees in these situations?
I think those are two very different situations. The first situation where they present a warrant, you ask for it and it's not signed. I think it's important that the designated person is calm and explains that to them. Like, I'm sorry, I can't open the doors. This warrant is not signed. Can you go get it signed by a judge and come back? Then I can open the doors. But until then, I can't open the doors.
mm,
And again, that's where it's important, if you've made connections with your local law enforcement, to call the police and have the police come over so that they can sort it out. So you can say, hey, look, we want to comply with the federal rules. We have no problem letting ICE in, but they need a valid judicial warrant. This doesn't look like a valid judicial warrant to us. Can you explain that to them, or can you talk on our behalf so that our patients and our staff are not scared to death about what might happen next? And so I would assume that police would probably show up within a few minutes. The second scenario that you brought up, which is, well, what happens if they break down the door anyway? Well, now you're in like a very hostile situation. And that's not a situation that you want to start kind of demanding and letting them know what your rights are. That's where, from everything that we've seen, especially in the last week on social media, it's very important to be prudent and protect your own safety. So that's why in that situation, um, like I mentioned, you just want to document everything that's happening. And then, report it to the police, report it to a concerned immigration support organization, so that a lawsuit can be filed if they overstep their boundaries.
is that just Iman or Ayman? Ayman?
Yes, hi. Thank you.
Yeah,
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Um, I think I'm sorry I joined late, so I didn't hear a lot of the conversation. Um, I work in the emergency department and I got a little scared when I heard that they actually there was ICE, I forget which state, and as somebody who's like a supervising doctor, I just kind of panicked, like, what would I do? Like, obviously I'm not an admin person. So just wanted to know, like, and I don't want to be confrontational with them. I don't want to have to deal with them, but if the charge nurses asked me what to do, if they came in looking for someone, I would like to know. I think I want to know more the circumstances of that other emergency room, like what happens, and ask my leadership to see, like, hey, what are we doing? I heard ICE came into the other, you know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to know about the other situation, if anybody knows about it, and how people in the ER can respond, since there's many people in
Sorry,
an emergency
what do you
department.
mean? Sorry, what do you mean the other situation?
I'm talking about the situation where ICE was in an ER. I try to look up where it was. I don't think it was in Minnesota.
Okay.
It was somewhere else where ICE was in an emergency department recently.
Okay. I think we've been talking about some similar scenarios. Uh, you know, earlier on we were speaking about private and public spaces. Um, Brother Noman, can you talk about like what's your thoughts on a a ward, uh, yeah, like a hospital ward where with his patients, and ICE has come over there.
Um,
Anything different from what
yeah,
we've been?
think I don't think it should be your responsibility as an ER physician to make the decision about whether or not ICE can enter the premises. I think first and foremost, this is something that you want to talk with your superiors and your management about, because this comes down to who owns that building, what's private and what's public. And so if ICE is showing up in the lobby saying they need to grab a patient or they need to find somebody, again, your administration should have somebody designated to address it with ICE. And so what they should do is first ask, do you have a warrant to enter these premises? If they say, no, we don't have a warrant, but we have a removal order and we need to pick this person up. If it's a private hospital, if it's a private clinic, they don't have a right to be there. I would ask them to leave. Um, Now, if they say that they have to come in anyway, I mean, there's not much you can do. It's not like you're going to stand in their way. So this is really something that management should address. I don't think you, as an ER physician, are like the person who is the gatekeeper of that patient. I hope that answers your question. But again, like I know that you mentioned you missed the beginning of the presentation. One of the things that I recommended is identifying areas in and around your place of business that are private property, because ICE is not allowed to enter private property without a judicial warrant. So that will serve as like a buffer zone for them not to enter. And then having somebody at your place of business, which is usually like HR or an admin person who's a trained rep, who's trained and can know what questions to ask ICE, ask for their identification, ask for their credentials, ask what they want to do, ask to see a judicial warrant, be able to analyze a judicial warrant to make sure it's properly executed so that they can enter. Um, and that person should be the gatekeeper that determines whether or not ICE is going to be allowed to enter and potentially take a patient who they, feel like they can detain.
Yeah, I just hadn't had a chance to ask like our leadership. But
Yeah,
the
Iman,
police constantly come
I
into the
think,
ER. So
sorry,
that's
I'm just
why,
going to, excuse me, sorry, I'm just going to stop you there. We have only a little bit of time. There's two or three questions that were sent in. We can take this offline if you want. Um, yeah, with leadership has to create those policies on the different on designating separate areas, and so I think that's how we did talk in quite some detail about how you go about doing that. I know there was a couple of questions. That there was one that I can attempt. One of them was um, on HIPAA, the HIPAA obligations as healthcare workers. So look, in general, the each healthcare provider and the institution has to comply with HIPAA. HIPAA has all these non-disclosure and non-use uh, obligations, but a it does have um, a set of exceptions, and one of those exceptions are law enforcement. You know, you can give up um, give up private health and protected health information if a if a judicial warrant, for example, is filed or subpoena. But we go back to what Mustafa and Noman were talking about. Like it has to be the right type of warrant. It can't be an administrative warrant. That doesn't rise to the level of what HIPAA requires. Do we have to disclose that patient? You don't. Uh, most mo Most experts say that telling that person, even telling ICE whether that person is, uh, if there's a person or their status or all of those things like those are probably protected by HIPAA. Now, if ICE walks in to your to your institution and tells you the name of a person by name, if they bring up a person by name, you can give some general information about that person, but you have no obligation to take ICE and lead them up to them. You don't need to give like room numbers or anything. You don't need to give any other information about that person. This is where the HIPAA laws supersede them. But I should preface this. I should add that every situation is a little different. As someone suggested in the chat, like you will have to get your attorneys in on that. Privacy counsel and security. Like your security should have been trained on some of these things. Some other folks were asking about one sheet. Tyler asked about a sheet that you can post that informs clients of their rights. So we are over here trying to get you and your institutions to be prepared for ICE. If you want to have patients talk about their rights, yes, there's a lot of ACLU, AILA. They have a lot of information on their websites. They have some of these one pagers. Please go ahead over there and provide your patients and your employees with those resources, so you can do that part, the next part of disseminating the information through these resources. Someone else asked, if someone tries to take shelter in your hospital because they are running away from ICE, what are your obligations over there? Brother Mustafa, Noman, do you want to take a crack at this?
My experience is that if you have a suspect pretty much of any kind that's running away from law enforcement, they can come into your house or anywhere else to get that person if there's something imminent going on. So I don't know that you can stop them. You couldn't stop them from doing it, and you shouldn't, because then you get into other issues. Now, if they're breaking the law, et cetera, we can see them in court, and we can make it happen like that. But my experience says that if there's something imminent going on, someone is running away, they've been confronted by ICE, or they're running away because they committed a crime, the police can come in hot pursuit of that person and chase them down. So it gets really sticky with ICE because it's not always a criminal issue. It may look like one, but I would assume that they can come in there and do that. But no, man. You have any?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation because you might want to feel like you want to help that person, but then if they're not your actual patient, for example, and they're just someone random who's trying to hide in your place of business, then you get into the problem of, are you potentially impeding a federal investigation? If, like you said, Brother Mustafa, they're in hot pursuit.
Yep.
I really don't have a clear answer to that question. We also don't know in this hypothetical situation if ICE has a warrant to get this person and they're chasing them down. Again, I think the main takeaway that we want to express is, given everything that we've seen in social media and on the news in the last week and the last several weeks, it's very important to be prudent, and it's very important to prioritize your safety. And so that's why everybody has constitutional rights. You can plead the Fifth. You can carry a firearm, the Second Amendment right, but you also have to balance that with what we're seeing and the importance of being safe and prudent. Because right now, as the reason why everybody is attending this discussion is because you want to make sure that you keep your safety, that nothing bad happens to you. And so it's in that situation, I would employ the same logic to be very careful with what you're doing if somebody is entering your place of business because they're escaping ICE, because now you're exposing yourself to a lot of liability. And your safety is probably more important than protecting that person's constitutional right.
Jazakallah for those final words. Mustafa and Noman, thank you so much for giving us your time, for sharing your thoughts on this. Thank you for all the work that you do, Sister Shamila. Thank you to AMP Texas for setting this up. I know that there's been a few questions over here about some SOPs or one pagers. Please, get in touch with AMP. We'll see if we can direct you to a particular place. But these kinds of things are all. I think you will have to engage legal to or your compliance departments to put these together. They are not one size fit all. That's why these are. I just found some model SOPs online that I'm sharing with you. But please, if you reach out to us, we'll try and get you sorted. At this point, I would like to just make a closing dua, but allow Sister Shamila, as the president of AM Texas, to say a final farewell, if you'd like.
I'm just going to thank the speakers, number one, because we couldn't have had a session without our speakers. I would like to also thank all the people who participate in the WhatsApp chat, because it was that conversation that led to the thought of, okay, people are legitimately concerned and don't have guidance, and let's try to put together people with knowledge who can provide us the proper guidance. So I really appreciate the questions, the engagement, and the speakers. And please stay connected with AMHP. We are only as strong as our membership, and we continue to strive to provide meaningful programming for everyone. Jazakallah. Thank you so much.
And Jazakallah. Thank you. Thank you for staying a few minutes over. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allah, please bless the work that CARE does, that CARE Texas does. But please bless the work that Noman is doing for his clients, for the community. Please bless the work that AMP is doing within the community. Allah, please protect those that are most vulnerable, that are apprehensive and worried. Please protect them and their families. Give them ease during these difficult times. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Thank you, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. See you on chat, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.